I've trimmed some of the little intro slides, and so this is just a little, that's what we're gonna see now, and let's just hop right into it. So last week was week 3, and last week we talked about quite a few announcements, and we also had a little section on scope and project management. So that was a little bit of a teaching session. Then we did demos and our typical breakout sessions. So this week we're going to have a much shorter week. It's just going to be announcements, a couple announcements, and then this initiative that kind of ties together one of our goals for the summer. And then we'll go into our customary demos and breakout sessions. So refresher on our objectives, kind of combine those two words together. Our objectives for the summer are twofold. So the first is to improve your resume. That's your traditional resume, which is going to be improved by your projects, and your public resume, which is going to be by being useful and interesting on the internet. The other thing that we want to do is improve the skills that you need on the job. So again, there's going to be a lot of topics over there. But this week, we're going to talk about your public resume. In the weeks past, we've been kind of focusing on number 2, just the skills and the presentations. This one, we're going to focus more on number 1. So before we do that, we're going to do some announcements. There's 2 this week. There's groups. So if we're talking a little bit about how those formed and what's coming up next. And then a little open mic about projects. So the exciting thing about groups is that we had 9 new groups form. That's really exciting. We're going to run another batch of them starting now, or starting actually a couple days ago, until we have enough people to form groups. But so if you didn't catch that wave, there will be more, but that's the exciting thing. And so just kind of a refresher for how this all came about. Last week, we started talking about, hey, we want to encourage groups to form. So let's create a matching program to help people find a group. So if you go to the Find a Group Discord channel, you go to the header, you can find a little link to the form and fill that out. And that's how that got started. Or alternatively, if you have an idea, you can pitch the idea, an idea pitch, and then people can DM you if they're interested. And then quite a few teams have formed that way. And then once you have a group, you can go to find a mentor or get matched by just asking me and seeing if I can help facilitate that process. So the resources are that matching form I talked about. The weekly idea pitch will just be right after this. The mentor list registry to see which mentors might be most suitable for your project need. And finally, we started a getting started doc. So those are all things that can help you get up and running. So back to our groups. These groups are not necessarily meant to be set in stone. So they're kind of to get the conversation going. If I know a lot of people were like, hey, can I be in the ML track as well? I want to be on the ML team. And it sounds like there's so much demand that there might be enough to do ML in your own projects or form another team just around ML. And so that's all on the table, but just get the conversation going. If your team is also looking for someone, don't hesitate to advertise. So advertise it on Find a Group, advertise it on Idea Pitch. If you put an idea pitch, I'll put it in my weekly emails that somebody you just pitched and how to reach out to them, and we can craft. I'll ping you to make sure I've got that right. But that's something that I think can help a lot. And so one little mental model I really like is a lot of these groups just formed, and you're trying to crawl and get to the ocean. You're just little sea turtle hatchlings. And once the beach is fraught with terrors, there's so many things that can get you that can get you bad in the first few days or so. You never make it to the ocean. And so what we're trying to do is make that process, shepherd that process so you get there. And once you're there, and you start shipping, then we're in a good spot. But just the initial phase, it's going to be kind of difficult, and we're going to make that easy. So that's kind of essentially what's going on here. Next thing that we're going to do is do an open mic for project pitches. I know that I think Ahmad told me that, please, that's not exactly where I wanted to go next, that he might have a project pitch. But if you have a project pitch, now is the time where you can just do 1 minute or so. I'm going to time you guys just to make sure that we don't go over, and just tell people what you're working on, and just kind of do that little pitch. And then we'll once you do that, make sure you have a reference back into the idea pitch channel so people can remember. But if anybody wants to do a pitch, now is the time. Just unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay. Hi. My name is Ahmed. I'm a university student here in Canada, and I have a project called Unscripted. It's going to be an educational video platform that hopes to make highly curated content for its users. Uh, that's hopefully under 10 minutes and about various topics. Uh, the idea is a little long and it's quite ambitious, but we're trying to get a minimum viable website by the summer. Please refer to the pitch channel on Discord and DM me if you're interested. We're ideally looking for front-end developers here for now, but anyone is welcome to DM me and we can get something working, hopefully. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Ahmed. Awesome. Does anybody want to pitch afterwards? Anybody got a pitch? Anybody looking for teammates? Alrighty, I'm gonna go. If you do want to go, you can ping the channel, and just I'll look up after I do my pitches, and then we'll go from there. Cool. So my pitches for this for essentially what I'm trying to do next is, the first is, so with SOS we need some help with group formation. Right now it's a manual process. You kind of saw it. It's a survey that you fill out, and then behind the scenes what essentially is happening is myself and a couple of volunteers. One of them is Martini, who's done an amazing job of he's the one who created the initial form, have been kind of putting people together, and based off of their interest and what we see in your Discord intro, and just putting all these little pieces together. And I think so far it's been okay, but it's a lot of work, and it's not necessarily the best way to match people. So what we want to do is improve this process, and what we need to build is a product that can potentially help us. The idea right now on the table is to build almost like a speed dating for project collaboration. And so what happens is we host an event that might be very similar to this. Everybody meets somebody, they talk to somebody for about a minute, and move on, and just to see if you can work together. At the very end, you just say, hey, like, I want to work with this person, or I really want to work with this person, something along those lines. And the software does a lot of the matching. So pretty simple, but it's an event plus some software. And essentially, that's what I'm exploring right now, and need some more people on that. Right now, there's the SOS Showcase team is getting started, and we're going to be building out a way to track projects, but getting projects that don't exist yet together is another goal of SOS. And then another thing that we want to figure out is, right now, finding a project mentor is also very manual process. So what you do is you go to the mentor registry, and then you kind of read like what people have done in the past, and maybe click on their LinkedIn profile. And after you've done all of that, you're like, okay, I want to talk to Phil, or I want to talk to this person. And that's kind of how it's done right now, but we can do a lot better. And there's no solution on the table at the moment, only the problem. But if you want to help solve this problem, again, that's something that we really need to improve and work on. And so come talk to me. I haven't posted an idea pitch for both of these yet, but I will. So that's me. All right, anybody wants to pitch an idea? Oh, sorry, I'm trying to, any other pitches? I don't think we have any other pitches, but if you have any other pitches in the upcoming weeks or so, this is the time to do that. So if your project needs more collaborators or needs a skill set that you don't currently have, this is the time to do that. All righty. So we're going to dive right into the topic for this week, which is going to be kind of a refresher. But first, the idea. So the idea is we want to create a hashtag called 30 Days of Shipping. And essentially why we're doing this is because one of the objectives for SOS is to improve your resume, both your traditional resume and your public resume. And so again, your traditional resume, we hope will be improved by shipping. And so once you have a project or two, or maybe even 3 to your name this summer, your resume is going to look that much stronger. But the public resume is where we kind of differentiate ourselves a little bit from an internship, because when you're working at a company, you're in a walled garden. When you're here and doing things, you can be as public as you want. And so you can improve your GitHub. You can curate your LinkedIn. You can also work on your Twitter and your blog posts. And so these last 2 things are things that we haven't talked about enough, I don't think. And I want to focus on that. So why do we care about a public resume? I think the big part is you just get luckier. When you have a good public presence, collaborators and employers can find you. And that can make a big difference when you don't really know what kind of job or project you want to do next. But if people come to you, that's then all the synthesis and creativity and opportunity can come to you, which is kind of cool. It helps establish your brand, and potential collaborators and employers can get a quick sense to see if you fit. And also, creates a positive feedback cycle. So when you put something out there and you get feedback, that feedback makes your projects better. That those projects and whatever make your tweets better, and all of this generates more eyeballs, which gets you more feedback. So when you do something else in the future, everything gets better and better and better. So the feedback cycle, the positive feedback cycle, is a really cool part of this. But one of the things is, like, even if you intellectually know this is great and you're like, okay, yeah, I get it, it's great, but it's really hard to start. On Twitter, it's hard because no one follows me. So how do I get, started? And even if I start commenting on people who have a lot of followers and I say interesting stuff, it's going to take me a long time to get to a point where I can just say, hey, I shipped this project. What do you guys think? Blog posts are also hard because, a lot of times people don't read that stuff. And so getting started is hard. And I think one of the things that we are wanting to do with SOS is we need an excuse to get everybody started, and an excuse to get everybody into the habit of both shipping and talking about it. So that's really where this 30 days of shipping hashtag can really come in handy. So one question, like, why 30? Why not 100? There's already this 100 days of code thing. Why not 100? Well, one, I believe I don't exactly remember where I read this, but it just takes 21 days to create a habit. So if you do something for 21 days, you can now have something that almost starts to become habit forming. We don't also have 100 days this summer. And so there might be 90 days, but 100 days of summer doesn't quite, is that a movie? I forget if that's a movie, but it's like, it doesn't quite make sense for us. And then also branding, 100 days of code is already a thing. And just having that name collision doesn't necessarily help us. So also the reason why 30 is because I have a thing for 30-day challenges. I really think they're great. And I have a few examples to tell you why I think they are great. The first one comes from Peter Levels. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he is an entrepreneur. And he started off with this challenge called 12 startups in 12 months. And so he initially challenged himself to say, I'm going to create one company for a month for 12 months. And he didn't really complete this challenge, but it doesn't matter because that led to the creation of a company called Nomad List, which he now runs to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue a year. And the idea is it's a community and a listing of all of the best places for digital nomads to go travel. And right now there's not a ton of traveling happening, but it's if and when things do pick up again, his business is just a massive moneymaker. There's a bunch of fitness challenges that focus on 30 days, just because you can actually do something, commit to something in 30 days and actually see a lot of results. And this space has really taken off. It's kind of funny to see the number of 30-day challenge apps out there in the realm of fitness, but I've done a couple of them myself, and I actually do think that they work. And there's another kind of interesting initiative that happens, I think it's every November, but it's called National Novel Writing Month. And the idea is that like everybody comes together in the month of November to write, I think 50,000 words or something along those lines. And that's enough to have a manuscript of a novel. And like, that sounds great, right? Like, okay, who cares? Like, you write a novel, no one's going to read it. Well, there actually are a few novels that came out of this that have been extremely successful. I've never seen the movie, I've never read the book, but I know Water for Elephants is a thing. And that is something that came out of National Novel Writing Month. There's also, there's a couple of other, I think, is it Dust or Wool? Wool is another book. I've actually read that book. I didn't know it came out of a 30-day challenge, but essentially it was started with that. A lot of this comes from Matt Cutts' TED Talk. Matt Cutts was a software engineer at Google at the time, and he gave a TED Talk about what you can do and how you can change your life in 30 days. That's really what inspired me to think about that. So anyways, 30 days, you can do a lot. What we want to do is we want to combine that 30-day kind of challenge mindset where you can do a lot in 30 days, but also do it with learning in public and building. And so if we combine that, we create this hashtag, 30 days of shipping. We're going to try to start this on June 1st. So when June 1st rolls around, I want to see a lot of people on Twitter, or maybe not even on Twitter. You can be in our Discord talking about it, but ideally on Twitter, just talking about things that you've done. So shipping stuff and making progress on your projects. Twitter and GitHub will eventually be your public proof of work. So if we see commits happening to your name on GitHub, if we see Twitter, your Twitter feed active, then we know that you're actually, putting in the work. And we'll be able to comment and give feedback and pointers. We're going to also set up a Discord bot every time somebody tweets with this hashtag, just so we can get a sense and have that shared sense of momentum from all doing this one thing. And again, the goal is to turn your GitHub account contributions green for the month of June. And essentially that's what we're hoping to do. So do a quick little flashback to the first week of Summer of Shipping. So that week we talked about learning in public, and this is a slide from that. There are a few things that I want to highlight here. One is from this excerpt from SWYX, and he essentially says, when you are writing and you're learning, you don't necessarily have to do anything all that impressive. Like, don't judge your results by claps or retweets or stars or upvotes. Just talk to yourself from 3 months ago. He says, I keep an almost daily dev blog written for no one else but me. It's public, but it's meant for him. And the idea is, if you can teach other people things that you struggled with, then you can be useful to people. And I guarantee you, if you found it useful, somebody else probably struggling with the same problem, and just being able to teach what the struggles that you had and kind of how you overcame that is immensely valuable. The next thing that is on the slide is this formulation or description of Patrick O'Shaughnessy's, I guess, loop for how to build things. And it's the idea that you should, learn something, then build something, share what you've done, and repeat. And so just keep on doing this. And this little loop just makes your stuff better. And that's essentially what we're trying to do. We're trying to get you started on these little loops. So all these little sea turtle projects, as you guys are making progress, getting to the habit of doing things in public, shipping every day, will get more people to help comment. Mentors can help you out if you are public about what you're doing, the challenges that you've had, and you can get better feedback, and just your progress is going to be a lot faster if you do this all in public. So that's kind of what we want to encourage you to do. Another slide that I had from the very first, this is back when it was called CSCQ Builds, but from our kickoff was how to Twitter. One is Twitter is hard, but it's a lot easier when you have this community. And so this community is going to help you. We're going to be on Twitter together, and that's kind of how we just make some noise together. Again, essentially, that's the first part. And then the other part is, like, what do you need to tweet? Well, one of the biggest things is, if you're doing work, just tweet your progress. Maybe a GIF or an image of whatever you're building. That's great. Maybe you want to even go so far to do a demo. So you record maybe Zoom or use Loom to just have yourself talking about what you built, and just be like, hey, today this is what we did. I want to do a little demo. And those can work really well. And just like, essentially the idea is, okay, if you do that, then you start interacting with people on Twitter, then you can get the conversation going, and the benefits I talked about start to happen. Maybe not a ton, but just little by little. That's how we're going to do this. So again, there's this hashtag 30 days of shipping. It's important for us because this is one of our first initiatives to get you to start creating that public resume. And that's something that's one of the goals for Summer Shipping. So really wanted to make sure that we started on that and jump on this opportunity, which is the new month coming up, new hashtag, new month, new hashtag. And we're going to try to make this happen and get everybody to start building in public, building together, creating this community, and just helping each other out. So that's essentially what this presentation is all about. No more, no less. And starts on June 1st. And if you want to get started right now, today, go ahead. I'm not going to stop you. But as a program, when I send out my Monday emails, I'm going to say, hey guys, this is day 1 of the 30 days of shipping. So we're going to do that. And then the action items for this week are extremely, extremely simple. It's just like ship every day in June. That's essentially all that we really need to focus on. If you haven't formed a group, there's now the infrastructure set up to, if you want to get matched with the group, we have the group matching form. If you want to pitch an idea, we have the idea pitch. If you want to start on your own project, you can start on your own project. We're going to improve infrastructure to help people get matched with mentors. That's definitely coming. It's a definite pain point. I hear mentors are, I can understand if mentors are a little bit frustrated. They're like, okay, where are the students? And students are a little bit frustrated with, like, okay, how do I reach out to mentors? And there's a lot of friction in that process, and definitely focus on that. So that's what we're going to do, but it's simple. The primary objective and the primary focus of everybody is to ship every day in June. So that's what we're going to do moving forward. that's all I've got for slides. I said it was a rather short presentation, but that's it, and we will move into demos. So next part is if anybody wants to demo anything, now would be the time. I'm going to talk for a little bit more just to buy another moment or two, but we'll move into that. So does anybody want to demo today?
Yeah, can everyone hear me? Phil, this is Akshat.
Okay, yeah, Akshat, go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing, and then we'll turn the thing over to you.
Yeah. All right. All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Akshat. I'm a sophomore CS major. Basically, like, for the last week or so, I've been working on this, like, basically like your average, shortest path visualizer. So basically, it'll like run Dijkstra's algorithm on a graph between 2 points, and I'll just run it. So basically, when you press run, it'll just like it'll visualize the actual like movement of the thing, and then when it finishes, it'll just show the little like path or whatever, and then you can clear the board. And also, like, when you like drag, you can make walls and stuff. So you can go do whatever the heck you want,
Hey.
do whatever, and then you run it again, and then it'll try its best to find a solution. It'll find it, and then it'll boop, boop, boop. It'll find it like that. So yeah, it's pretty simple right now. I want to be able to like right now. What I was working on is like making it so like you can actually define the start and the end, like drag and drop or whatever. But yeah, this whole thing is basically it's basically all written in vanilla JavaScript, like the whole thing. So like a lot of like weird struggles come with like not using React and stuff. I think like for me, it's just more like a learning kind of project. So I guess the hardest part for me throughout this whole thing is kind of like managing state and all that. So the whole time I ended up using like the not the HTML5 data type stuff. So like basically I would like have it so I would keep like information in like the overall like container. Like if the mouse is down, I put this to true, you know, so on and so forth. So instead of like an actual like like state kind of thing, I had to kind of like hack it throughout all this. And I think what it kind of taught me overall is that like why it's helpful to have React and Vue and all these kind of things. So it's like it was kind of like fun but also kind of frustrating. But yeah, it was definitely a ride.
That's awesome.
For sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're getting a lot of
Yeah.
comments in the chat right now, and people are like, dude, this is super cool. I think one thing that actually you were in the Discord and you were trading some messages with a few mentors, and you had a problem. Could you kind of talk
Yeah.
about that problem? And this is something that I think to full disclosure, I want to encourage Akshat to write about this, maybe on a blog or something. But essentially, you had a challenge that you couldn't get around, and eventually did. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I think so I had mainly coded so I had coded like Dijkstra's before in Java and like one of my like like data structures classes and stuff. But the problem with like I guess that I didn't realize when you code on the web is that like you have to kind of like manage like the DOM separately from like your actual code. So the problem with me earlier is like what would happen is I'd press run, it basically run the algorithm, like it basically freeze the whole page, like be like like lag everything, and then like maybe like a minute later it would just like plop up the answer at the end.
Right.
The hardest part for me was trying to figure out how to like um get my code to run like sequentially, so like like step by step. And then I was pretty much I was stumped completely. I had no idea what to do. Well, luckily I think Kevin and John and then Michael on the some of the mentors in the Discord, they kind of taught me like maybe use state timeout. I tried that for a little bit. Like I'll put like a timeout between every single like like thing I did, but that never ended up working. So then I learned about this thing called a web worker, which I had no idea about. So I learned about web workers and all that, and I ended up putting the whole thing in a web worker. And then like on like as you learn new things, like new problems arise up. Then like I like I didn't realize how a web worker works. I had to learn about like, what you can give to a web worker in the first place. And that was a whole ordeal. But throughout the whole thing, I was just messaging, in the ask for help. I was like, hi, here's a screenshot of my code. Please help me. And people are so help, like Kevin and all of them, like he was helpful. I'm not sure if he's here right now, but all the JS fiddles and all like the little like GitHub, just things was like so helpful to me, so I can see the actual like, code, in real life. Like I can see it's like explanation in real time. So that was like, like I did, I never expected that kind of help from, like an online community. So if it wasn't for like, the people online, I would have like never been able to do this in like 10 days, let alone a month. So it's really, it's really, really helpful, at least for me.
That's awesome. I mean, that makes me really happy to hear. And I think one of the fun things that I think what we talked about was Akshat and I, we had a office hour session, maybe a couple of weeks ago or so. And we talked about like how, there's when you work on projects, there's always going to be things that just like make you want to quit or make you think you're not going to be able to do it. But then if you can kind of get past that and do, like, you're going to feel really great. And then you can help the next person up by kind of talking about that process. And I think that's just like, it's really, really cool to see all of that have played out, get from that original conversation to what we're seeing right now in the demo. I'm really excited about that. So again, congratulations, Akshat. And yeah, you have a pretty awesome little project right here on your hands.
Yeah. No, thank you everyone. I feel like it's like a really like, like at least for me, it's like when you have like people like, who are willing to help you and even just talk to you about stuff, it makes it like a lot less daunting to have like crazy ideas, just like, to really just do whatever you want. So
totally.
Also, thank you guys. So yeah.
Congratulations, Akshat. Yeah, let's give him another round of applause. Well, I guess you can only hear my hand clapping, but we're all we're all clapping. Yeah. So people are clapping in the comments.
Yeah. Thanks,
cool.
guys.
Awesome. Very, very nicely done. And I think there might have been, I might have caught wind of another, somebody else might have wanted to demo maybe a personal site. I forget if that was, it might be just my imagination. I can't find it anymore.
Yeah, I think that was me, if you can hear me.
Okay. Yep. Hey, Alistair. Yeah, if you want to take over the screen and share,
Sure.
That's all yours.
Let me just see if this will work.
Oh, and one second. Akshat, the next thing that would be really exciting is if you can deploy that, and once you get that on the web, then it's shipped. Oh, okay. That now we're talking. So anyway.
Yeah. I still have a few more things to add, like some small UX stuff, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things that you can do is you can ship it even before it's done, and just so people can play around with it. That's another thing that you can consider.
Yeah.
But, all right. Anyway, sorry, we were trampling over Alistair's time. So Alistair, back to you.
Sure, no worries. You might want to go to someone else real quick because I have to leave the meeting to share my screen real quick.
Okay. Well, it's okay. We'll wait. So as Alistair, works on that, let's see if anybody else wants to do a demo. If it's just going to be Akshat and Alistair today, that's all good too. I see somebody. I can. Oh, okay. Yeah. So Sebastian had a demo that he only talked about last week, but this week we can actually see it. So Sebastian, why don't you take it away? And so Sebastian is one of our mentors, and he talked about a Spotify playlist, auto-populating Spotify playlist last week.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Do you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Oh, somebody said good music. Thanks. All right. So let me just find which screen I have to share because I have 15 right now according to Zoom. I'm gonna close some real quick so I don't share. Can I share my whole screen?
Yeah, I think the option in the top left is usually share your entire.
Oh yeah, desktop 3. All right. 1 second, I have to allow Zoom to steal all my personal info. Oh, I have to quit also, like
Okay.
Alistair.
Okay,
all right, I guess I'll come back.
We might do Alistair first, if he's back.
No problem. Yeah,
Okay.
go for it.
All right.
Okay. I'm back here. I'll just share my screen real quick.
Sweet.
Can you see me?
Mhm.
All right, cool. So this is just a personal website I built with HTML and CSS. You can see a little animation there at the top.
Nice.
It's pretty basic. Just a little text about me, a link to one of my projects, and then links to a few of my socials. And then you can see you can email me down here. But yeah, it really didn't take long to build it all. I know it's nothing really too impressive, but I'm new to web dev, so this was pretty cool to work on.
No, that's awesome. Just being able to get something out the door, and the other thing is it's on the internet, that's really great. And just being able to get all of those pieces together and have that momentum and be like, hey, this is me on the internet, I think is awesome. And so well done, man. And you said it just took a couple of days.
Yeah, it actually only took like a day to do in total. The animation itself took a while because I had some issues with that. But Stack Overflow helped obviously with that. But yeah, overall it wasn't too long, and then it's just hosted with GitHub Pages, which is a pretty smooth process in general. I recommend it to anyone that's gonna
Doing a static site, yeah.
Post anything in the future.
Yeah.
How did you do the typing animation? I was looking at trying to build that the other day, but I avoided it because it seemed kind of hard.
I can show you the code here.
Sure.
It's just using keyframes, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. And then also the typing, the actual animation attribute itself helps a lot, and the step end too.
Okay, that's awesome.
Nick is quietly jotting all that stuff down. You can hear his keyboard.
There's a Stack Overflow thread I think that goes over it that I use that helped me a lot. So I could send you that if you want.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I might try to step back to that project I was trying to build.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah, and I love the just being able to be like, hey, I'm going to do a tiny little project, and if you can show your website, what's awesome is you don't have many features, right? You just have the main page and maybe a link to one of the things that you've been working on as well as your socials. And I think for a lot of people, if you're just getting started, this is a really great mentality. It's like, okay, just build something really simple and just get it out there, and you can add some styling to make it look nice. For example, if anyone's seen my personal website, it looks like trash because that's essentially what I did. Is I just kind of put it together in a day or so, and I just wanted to put something out there where I could form a blog. And I spent all my time on setting up a local Ghost instance and blogging, but not actually on the UI UX. But the thing is, you can get something out there really quickly, and you'll get a sense of progress from that, and that's awesome. So thank you for sharing that, Alistair. Let's give him a round of applause. Again, it'd just be me, but other people are clapping in the comments.
Thank you.
Awesome. Sweet. Okay, so we're gonna finish let the applause finish, and then the next part we'll go back to Sebastian.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try this again.
All right.
Desktop number 3. Can y'all see?
Yes.
Right now, you should be seeing AWS, right?
Yes.
Cool. All right. So just a quick recap on what the project is basically an automated system to populate a Spotify playlist with music every day. This is the playlist. It's been running since November and now has over 4,000 songs. And I'm just going to show you real quick what it does and how I built the architecture around it. So it has 2 main parts, but what I had in mind that was really important was to separate those 2 parts so I could potentially grow the system and add new connections. So the first part is the part where we go get songs to add to the Spotify playlist. So right now I have one system that feeds itself on a bunch of YouTube channels. So every day it's going to go fetch for every one of these YouTube channels the last uploads in the last 24 hours, and then send all of those to a centralized location. So this is what text is. And the second part is going to feed on those texts, basically just strings containing song titles, and add them all to my Spotify playlist. So I built all of this on AWS using the free tiers of many different services. Just for fun, I'm gonna start off by showing a dashboard I built real quickly to show some cool stats, and I'm gonna talk about what's happening over here. So this is a CloudWatch, and it allows me to see how my different Lambdas, in this case, have been operating. And you can see a drastic change in optimization around this part, which I'm going to talk about a bit later. So first of all, I have a Lambda that I have a list of YouTube channels to check every day. It's in a DynamoDB database because those are free there's a free tier on AWS. So I just have a bunch of YouTube channels there, and I just get those YouTube IDs every day. And I use a first Lambda, which goes and gets all of the channels in my database and uses the YouTube API with an API key to get the new channels. So I'm using just the SDK from Google, which allows me in JavaScript to get the channels pretty quickly. And then I just parse the titles and put them in groups, which I then send to SQS. SQS is a queue management system in AWS. So it's asynchronous. So I can just put a bunch of stuff in there, and on the other side, something else, when they're ready, can go and feed data from there and do stuff. So this is my queue right here, my main queue, in which I send all the song titles. And this is the part about separating the first system from the second system, because I had an idea where I could plug in many different data sources for song titles, so maybe like Reddit or Twitter or whatever, and just have many different Lambdas throwing songs in this single queue. So on the other end, the queue, the system that feeds itself on the queue doesn't have to know from where all the information is coming from. Quick note here, I also have a second queue. This is called dead queue, in case you have messages which are not being consumed. This is very, very important. Otherwise, you're going to have very high costs for queues in AWS. And on the other side, the queue, which adds songs to Spotify, basically just takes the title, does a little bit of parsing to remove some tokens that are not very useful, or blocks Spotify search engine. So like Premiere when a new song is released, or lyric video and stuff like that. And just remove those, otherwise Spotify gets confused. And then I just search Spotify using its API. And if I get a result for a track, I use the track ID and add it to my personal playlist. So that's pretty much it. Back to this little dashboard. This is the duration of how long it takes to add a song to the playlist. You can see here it was the duration was going high very quickly. This is because I was fetching all of the songs in my playlist and checking for duplicates before adding to it. It was just mounting exponentially. Well, more like linearly, but whatever. So what I did is I added a cache system, which once a day is going to cache my playlist in another DynamoDB database. And I check that instead of the database every time. So now it's pretty much constant in the 300 millisecond range. And this is the system that actually caches the playlist. It's still growing linearly, but it's only one call every day, so I'm not too worried about that. And this is the amount of messages I receive. It's pretty cool to look at it on a monthly basis. You can see there's a spike pretty much every weekend where more uploads are happening. And yeah, I also have one final little Lambda, which has to refresh the Spotify token every hour, because Spotify tokens only last for 1 hour. So actually every 55 minutes, I have a Lambda, which just refreshes the Spotify token and stores it in a DynamoDB database table. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome, awesome. And there's a few comments in the chat where it's like people are like, "Whoa, there's a lot going on." I don't think everyone is understanding everything.
Yeah, I'm
but-
sorry. I'm sorry if I said a lot of information real quickly.
Oh no, but it's really good. I think having this recorded, we can actually break it down over time, which is really cool. Is in the future, what we can do
of course.
is like, hey, pause the video and be like, hey, this is what he's talking about, and we can kind of just like I can annotate it. But just having the source material and just seeing that is really cool. I don't think a lot of people have seen AWS used like that in that much detail. And so, and even on the job, I don't think, people, if they're working on an internship, they might touch one service, right? They might touch SQS a little bit, but they won't touch, Dynamo, SQS, all of this stuff together. And so it's kind of cool to see it all.
And what's really cool is this cost me $0 per month.
That's amazing.
Which was really important for me.
I didn't know how like the persistence is crazy, because like even with, I think they charge for Postgres, but I didn't know that they charged for, I didn't realize that Dynamo had a free tier.
Yeah, it's a lifetime 25 gigs, I think.
Oh, wow. That is so sneaky. I did not
25
realize
gigs on Dynamo?
I think, yeah. I might be wrong. I think actually it's a limit on the number of read-write, not tokens, but like workers or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, units.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all.
If I'm sorry if it looks complex, guys, but it started simple. I just wanted a Spotify playlist, and it just kept growing. So that's pretty much every project ever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have a very, very wide monitor. This is 21:9 ratio widescreen.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do have one question, Sebastian. You mentioned that there's also a cache. What are you using for your cache? Is it in memory, or is it a Redis instance, or?
I just use DynamoDB because I wanted it to be cheap. It's
Gotcha.
literally just a table containing the songs right now. So right now I have in my cache all of the songs of my actual playlist, minus the duplicates, and it's just the IDs. So that's what I did to optimize it a bit.
Awesome. Well, super cool for sharing all of that. That we might have to take the recording and just pause it. And so I think there's little things that we can do to annotate and be like, hey, like when he talks about these two cues, and there's one where you put all the bad ones in, what is that pattern in? And I think that would be like a really useful lesson in and of itself and stuff like that. So yeah, and some people will be like, oh, I'd be interested in learning how all the pieces of AWS work together, and like all the Lambdas and stuff. But dude, this is super cool. Thank you so much for sharing all of this.
No problem. I hope it inspires a few people.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, let's give a round of applause to Sebastian. Again, you just hear me clapping on the video, but yeah, we're getting the comments in now and the Zoom chat. Cool. Alrighty. If anybody else wants a demo, we've got time. And again, the presentations were really short today, so we can focus more time on just sharing what people are working on. And over the course of the summer, I think that's what's actually going to happen is, more people will have things to share, and we'll focus on that. But does anybody else want to share something? I see Samson has something that's in a very early stage. But yeah, go for it. So whenever you're ready, Samson, you can take over the screen.
All right, awesome. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good stuff. Let me share in. Okay, so my project was kind of this is something I'd started a bit ago. I had the idea for, but working on some other projects, kind of this whole like building your public resume, keeping a project log. Like I have my blog where I guess I'll like kind of the motivation is kind of like this is the use case I wanted to do was I had these projects where I wanted to like write a blog post about my process, right? I wanted to show like the things that went wrong and kind of like the sequential updates as I fix that. And the problem was like everything's version tracked in GitHub, so I could get the old code and rebuild it and like redo all the screenshots, but that's really a hassle. So these I happened to be like sending to friends, so I had them in Messenger. But after this, when I realized kind of the value of tracking the whole project and having all this here to use for blog posts, more to like what I do now is post them on Twitter, which is nice because it's right where it needs to be and I can access it later. But the in-between step there was I actually kept like a markdown file that's just a project log. So this is for a different project, but yeah, just like successive screenshots of each of the stages. And if I later on want to write a blog post or use this somehow, it's all here, and it's much easier than going and like rebuilding old code or whatever. But this was like really a hassle to do manually to like, you know, this is literally just a bolded time code and like a paragraph and a screenshot. And Twitter, on the other hand, is like, I find a bit too simple because it's just, you know, it's really short. It's good for getting it out, maybe for like a summary for like a video or something, but not so much for, but yeah, no, you lose a lot of things that you'd be able to keep track of like this. So I wanted to build something that was a tool that would be, that would do this for me, right? That I could use to keep track of, that was like a project tracking software, but that, yeah, would just be really easy to use, would just keep track of the time, would allow you to post it on Twitter directly or export it as a markdown or a PDF or something. So yeah, so this is what I've been working on. And this is built in React and also AWS. I actually have like a GraphQL thing open right here, but this is much less into AWS. I guess I'll show like what the product actually looks like or what I have of it. So, you know, this is just a screen. We can just make a new project. Oh no, it's just not gonna work. All right, we'll go into this old project. I don't know how I broke that, but I don't know. I've been updating the schemas around, so maybe that broke something. But okay, so here's an existing project. So the idea is it's really simple. I don't need to like, there's no markdown files or anything. I just, you know, add note. I can add a file if I want to. So let me just like pull up this file I've been using, and this uses FilePond, which is this really nice library with all these animations, and it makes everything easy. I just hit create update, and there it goes. So yeah, so one thing is just like within the app, there's this log of just all the updates that you've shared. And already this is pretty helpful. You know, you can go back, look through your projects and you know, take your image and do whatever you want with it. But my hope is that this can be, used much more directly. So like this thing about it being public. So there's like public and private updates, I call these things. And the idea is, and there's this button right here also that's posted to Twitter that currently does nothing. I haven't connected anything, but the idea is, yeah, you could just like draft a thing, throw in a thing, even record audio or video, which I don't have working right now. But like right now, I'm on Windows, so I don't have Loom. I think it was a nice like Mac OS thing. So I've been using like Screencast-O-Matic is what it's called, which has a watermark. It's really nice, but it does have a watermark, and it's just a bit of a hassle. So there's, you know, the media recorder API. So I was thinking, you know, what if you just did it here and had it drop right in, and it would fill in your log, and if you hit post to Twitter, it would post it to Twitter at the same time. And even beyond that, it could be, instead of just being this private user-facing side, if you could just publish a project, right? So that's what this like load thing is supposed to be, is eventually if you post it publicly, you can just like have a public link, and you can send that out. You can post that on your Twitter, right? When you post your tweet, you know, this only has like a couple hundred characters. You have the images, you have like the first few characters, and then a link, right? And the link goes to the public page of this app of the appropriate update, and you can look through the project. And it's just like a really nice way to have a running project log that's really easy to work with and not a hassle to keep track of. So yeah, so right now this is really early stage. This is my first ever like full stack project, really. I've done a lot of static web development, but this is using React and AWS on the back end. So it's the first thing I try to learn this tutorial serverless stack, which is really awesome. It's really comprehensive and walks through like a bunch of AWS stuff. With serverless framework, which is their CLI thing, and all the config files, and then eventually setting up like continuous integration, continuous deployment. It's really comprehensive and nice. But I found that like after I learned this, I had a lot of trouble figuring out how to like extend my knowledge. So it was like, okay, I can like make this demo project. I can change small things around, but like if I want to, you know, integrate all these libraries and completely different features, I had no idea how to do that. So I ended up using AWS Amplify, which is the CLI for AWS. You just type, I'll just, there shouldn't be anything to push, but, or sorry, not that, Amplify, push. or I don't know, maybe better is just to show like the file structure. So this is like a thing that's just in this big mono repo because the CLI just makes it nice to set up, but like it's really easy just a CLI to look at everything and publish your changes. And I've read like this is like worse in the long term because you don't actually learn a lot of like the nuances of AWS. But for me, it's been really nice just to, and like I know that a lot of this, a lot of what I'm writing, I know it's not ideal. Like one thing that happens is these, like I have a thing that's console logging, but these states, these images are actually like re-rendering far more often than they should. Like I think like every time I type something, they like re-render and send a thing in console. But for now, I mean, it's my first project ever, and it's just been a really good learning experience. Just diving in and like making all these UI things and working with backend and just setting up basic functionality and just like bashing that out as fast as I can. It's been a really good experience. I think, yeah, I don't know. It's a weird place where on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, I just want to build this fast and learn, and maybe not even ship it because, you know, managing file storage, like right now, this is all free tier as well on AWS. It also uses DynamoDB and free tier of S3, which is totally fine if it's just like me using it. But if I ship it, and people, I don't know, it's things to worry about. So it's a weird place where I'm like, this is a learning project. I can just move on. But also like, I don't know, this is a cool idea. So I'd be really interested to get any feedback or validation or mentorship going forward with implementing more complex stuff. Like publishing publicly is something I don't really know how to do yet because you'd have to like duplicate the data or like the data items and duplicate the files and stuff to a publicly accessible thing. So I guess I'm seeking mentorship and feedback as I build all this out.
Totally. No, that's awesome. And I think one of the, some people are commenting right now that, hey, like when you follow a tutorial, like your knowledge is oftentimes pretty brittle when it comes to, hey, like how do I move this and transfer it elsewhere? And it's like, okay, well, I knew it in this one very hyper-specific context, but as soon as it tweaks, it completely vanishes. And so building up a project from scratch like this is extremely ambitious. And I think one of the things that you've done is like, okay, well, I have the tutorial, I'm using aspects of it, but at the same time, I'm going to try to apply those concepts where I'm not too far away from familiar territory. And no, I think this project looks really, really great. And I'm really excited to see kind of if you continue to work on this, like, you know, what kind of tweaks that you make next. But when you first said I have something that's in the early stages, I was not expecting something this built out. So great job with all this.
Yeah, I guess. Thank you. I guess the ambitions are just like kind of vague. Like I do hope to do a lot more. And just last few quick things I saw in the chat for like how this looks. I'm using two CSS libraries here. So Tailwind CSS is kind of like the base library, and then A17T. This is a thing that one of my friends actually made. And it's really cool. And yeah, just a lightweight thing. But it's really funny because I wrote a right before all this, I wrote a thing on Dev2, this article about kind of expressing like unfamiliarity and a bit of fear about like CSS frameworks and like being so used to writing CSS by hand or through Sass. This is like very, very different. But it's been, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I've liked it a lot. It's I guess with React components and stuff, it's a very different use case. So this is very fast for that, and I've enjoyed putting this together. Like this is definitely a lot faster and nicer looking for the time I put in, and for like the rapid iterations of features and all than if I had been writing CSS myself for sure. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's give Samson a round of applause for this demo. Sweet, dude, that's awesome. We're very excited to see where you take that, and I don't know if you continue to work on that or if something else this summer. But I know you are. I made you point person, I think, for one of the groups, and so we'll see exactly what you guys build next. But I'm excited.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Anybody else want to do a demo today? We are at the top of the hour now, so. We're going to try to make it quick, but anybody want to go next? Alrighty. I think if no one cuts me off, I'm gonna stop the recording, and then we are just gonna jump into our breakout sessions, and we'll go forward from there. Alrighty, so I'm gonna stop the recording.